Since we're looking at this screen, and it might be easier once you open up Rachel's email to see what I'm talking about. But with the time categories, I see that we can add in a bunch of custom categories in our time accounting software. Well, not software, but the program that we use right now. We track probably around a couple hundred categories, and and that just gives us like a real granular way to analyze the cost of a program, or even the cost that we can't bill as part of a program. One of the issues, of course, is the way that it's set up right here. You would have, a few hundred lines, just allowing you to enter stuff in. Is there a way to, rather than having all these preset lines filled out, you just have like the very left, the category, just let it be blank, and then you click on a drop down, and then you can pick the category you want?
Absolutely, yep. Before I show you how to do that, let me ask you this question. In any given payroll period, how many different time codes would you typically bill time to?
Shoot.
Per person?
A lot.
Yeah.
I can get you numbers, but it's going to be pretty high.
Okay, so these are time codes that are used frequently, right?
Yeah.
Cool. Because one thing about timesheets that we do have is we have timesheet templates, right? Which says, all right, if I'm a staff person or a biologist or a weights and measures inspector, whatever, here's what I'll see by default on my time card. And we don't have to list everything. If I have 200 categories, I can list the top 20 of them here. And whenever somebody's on their timesheet, if there's a category here that isn't shown, there's a little link down here that says add timesheet row. And so let's say I've got 50 time codes, but I don't use them very often. You could just have users click on add row, and when they do happen to use a particular time code, they could add a row for it. And that way, most of the time, their time card's pretty short. It sounds like you're in a different boat where you're going to be using those time codes pretty frequently. So most people would have a very long time card if we make one row for every time code, right?
Right. But I mean, if there was that little add row, like you were saying, I think that'd be perfect.
Well, I think that's one way to do it. So you can look at that. The other thing you can do is you can create this custom form, right? So I can go and say, I want to have a custom category that is, I don't want to leave it blank. We'll have to call it time code entries. Okay, so this is going to be custom tracking, right? Because we're going to define a field where you're going to enter your time code. All right, we don't want to track a program. We don't want to track a sub-program, no contract, no location, no mileage, no expenses. Doesn't map to Kramer. On the payroll, this is all going to be work time. Okay?
Okay.
So we'll save that, and I'll go into my time code entries new category, and I'll say, all right, I want to define some custom fields. And the one custom field I want to enter is time code. The data type is going to be text. Max text length is maybe 20. And then we're going to define drop-down values. So I don't know how your time codes are structured, but they're probably like GL codes, right?
Similar.
Let me hop back in there. So we're just going to enter a bunch of values. Et cetera, et cetera. And you can, copy and paste this out of an Excel spreadsheet with as many specific values as you want in there. And it is required. And here it's going to be so enter a time code against which to accrue this time. Okay, so now I got a custom form that basically just has a single field, which is time code. And for that time code, we've identified a bunch of drop-down values, and it's going to be a required field. So now go to my timesheet, and now you'll see this add timesheet row because I don't have it on there, but you could actually add this to everybody's default template so it always shows up. And when I go to enter time on there, it's just going to give me a entry that says, okay, what time code are you billing? And I put in 3.5 hours, and let's say that's for special office training. And this was on our safety training. Okay, so we just have one row, but on that row, you can enter time on whatever time code you need to enter that time on.